Hi, my name is Brian, and I'm the High Pop Professor. And today I have a question for you. My question is, why do PSA 9s command a premium over BGS 9s or SGC 9s? I mean, after all, Mint 9 is Mint 9, right? So, interesting phenomenon, and I have a couple of thoughts about why this is the case. And I would like to go through a couple of the cards in my collection as sort of an illustration of why we tend to see this. And some of these thoughts you may have heard before, that's fine. And because, for me, I collect cards. To me, it doesn't matter what holder the card is in. I do collect PSA graded cards, certainly, love it. But I don't just collect PSA cards. Look, I collect cards. I collect cards whether they're in Beckett slabs. I collect cards whether they're in, heck, CSG slabs. That's fine. I have no problem with that. SGC, fine. Let's talk about SGC. Let's do it. And because Mint 9 is Mint 9, right? Well, so why the added value for PSA as a premium over any of these other companies? Well, we're going to talk about that. So let's go ahead and turn the camera around and get started with that. Okay, so the first card I'd like to show here is a card that I sent in myself and was really happy with this. This is an 82 Donruss Cal Ripken rookie card. And this card, I actually bought this in a lot with like 4 other rookie cards from the 80s and 90s. And this was the main one that I wanted though in the lot. And I got it because it looked really sharp. And when I got it in hand, it looked really, really sharp. And so I sent this card in, and you can take a look real quick, but boy, it is just an absolutely gorgeous, stunning card. Well centered, razor sharp corners, good edges, good picture. And I mean, I had, I just thought it looked so good. It had a shot at some true greatness here. It's a little off-centered on the back, but even the PSA grading standard says that for back centering, they'll take up to 25/75 off-centered for the back and still keep it within the range for a 10. This is the PSA website saying that, and so I said, hey, we're gonna give this a shot. My brother, Iconic Gal, sent one of these cards in, and he gemmed it somehow. It's a very low gem rate, about 5%. And I said, oh, let's give it a shot. And I was very satisfied with my return. I got a PSA assigned 9. And it's a great card. It's a mint card, really strong example of that card. Beautiful, love it. And seeing as how I bought the lot for about $25 with all those rookie cards, it came out ahead. This card, this PSA 9, is valued at, it probably sell for about 90 bucks. If I wanted to sell this on eBay, I don't want to sell it, but if I did, it would be about 90 bucks. But you'd see that an SGC 9 or a BGS 9 would probably only get about 70. There's a big difference in the price differential here. And so why the difference? The first reason I think why we see this difference in price is because, well, like it or not, PSA is kind of the king of the hill, top of the hobby right now. When you are looking for, and for this video, I'm going to use basically mostly iconic rookie cards because there's plenty of them. There's a high frequency of those graded, high frequency of transactions to go by, and lots of comps to use. And so, some of the more infrequent, rarer cards or inserts that come up or don't come up for long stretches of time, yeah, you can't have reliable data here. But the fact is, if we stick to just rookie cards, there are more PSA graded examples of this card than there are SGC examples. That's just a fact. And because more of them exist, because PSA has that 80%, 90% market share of grading companies, it stands to reason that they get transacted more, and so the comp prices that you see for PSA are stronger. They're more reliable, they are more recent, and for potential buyers out there who are shelling out their own hard-earned bucks on these cards, they can have more confidence. There's more buyer confidence in a PSA transacted card than this exact same identical mint 9 card for Beckett or SGC. That's just it. It's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy, or what you'd call a positive feedback loop. Like, because they transact more, and because they're popular, they maintain that popularity, or they maintain that price premium. Which isn't to say that it couldn't change. Look, at one point Beckett was the king of the hobby. But times have changed, and as right now, it's PSA. So reason number one, there's just more graded slabs out there. They are transacted more frequently, and that more frequent comps turns into more reliable comps. And that is the first reason that I think we see PSA getting a premium for the same card and the same grade. Now, I did mention there was two other ones I want to talk about, and the second one I want to discuss is with the company, specifically Beckett. And so I'm going to move these aside. And what we're going to talk about here is what I like to call the sneaky subgrades. Now, we'll get back to sneaky subgrades in a second. So Beckett, now, say what you will about graders notes, but Beckett's been doing this for years now. I mean, take a look. We got a 95 Pinnacle White Hot, one of my favorite inserts. I've shown this card many times. But, you know, if you want feedback on your card, I mean, look no further than these beautiful subgrades. There's no mystery. You know, I'm covering it up. It's a little silly to cover it up when you can see the subgrades. Well, clearly this is a quad 9. Yeah, it's a beautiful card. I love it. But yeah, it's a 9. Beckett Mint 9. Beautiful card. Beautiful, you know, everything about it. I love the card. Now, what I mean by sneaky subgrades, though, is that, you know, the fact that it's a quad 9, you wouldn't really miss the subgrades if they weren't there, right? Because it doesn't really tell you a whole lot about it. I mean, well, it does tell you about it. But in cases where maybe you have a give and take, or a plus or a minus. Here's a Beckett graded slab, Pedro Martinez, 91, Upper Deck Final Edition. And this was one of the earlier Beckett ones. The subgrades are present, but they're on the back. And with this plus minus, you have a couple 9s, but then you also have a 9.5 that makes up for an 8.5. And so a little bit plus and a little bit of minus, and it still balances out to the solid Mint 9 card. And it's a beautiful card. Great card, love it. But the fact is, though, that not every 9 is created equal. And what I mean by that is you could have something where that plus minus, here's another plus minus. In fact, what happened with this card, this is a 92 Donruss Elite. I know this is not a rookie card, but look at the subgrades here. We have 9, 9, 8, 5, 9, 5, same thing, 1, 9, 5, woo, little plus, and a little 8, 5 to balance it out, and it's still a Mint 9 copy. Beautiful, gorgeous card. But it was funny, I was looking for this card specifically in something like a Beckett or an SGC holder because I didn't want to pay the PSA premium. I didn't. I wanted this card, this beautiful card, looks really great. And I wanted the card and didn't want to pay the extra $100 that it would have cost just for to have a PSA piece of plastic around it. And what was funny about this was I messaged the seller and I found a comp of a Griffey BGS 9 that had sold, and I pointed this out. They were asking for a certain price. I said, well, hey, there's a lower price here for this other BGS 9 that sold, and without skipping a beat, they messaged me right back and said, yep, that's true, but mine is better, because that Beckett had a 99985. It was a very low BGS 9, whereas this one averages out to exactly a 9. And of course, he's right. He's exactly right. I saw the wisdom in what he said, and I conceded, and I paid his price. And I'm happy I did it. So where's the sneaky subgrade come in? Well, what I'm talking about is that we have some cards here that, and of course I'm covering up the grades here. Here's a Mariano Rivera, 92 Bowman rookie, where you take a look at these subgrades, and we have a 9.9.85.85. Now, this is like smack dab between, if you actually average these numbers together, it's smack dab between 8.5 and a 9. It's the 8.75, what you would get. Now, technically, this is an 8.5 card. This is a BGS 8.5, but it's also, you take a look at the serial number, 4 leading zeros. This is very old, very early Beckett when they were grading very harshly, which tends to mean a lot of these cards tend to be undergraded. Not always, but they tend to be. And so if this is a Beckett 8.5, you see how sneaky high this is for an 8.5. Again, you average these numbers together, it's at 8.75. I understand that Beckett does not actually average them. They take the lowest grade and they only bump you up in a half point or maybe 1 point higher than that as the maximum. But still, you can get the quality of this 8.5 is higher than any other 8.5 out there, because if one of those 8.5s were a 9, this would be a Beckett 9. So part of what I mean by sneaky subgrades is you have this card that's only 0.5 away from being a 9. And that's not true with every other 8.5 out there. I have a couple other sneaky subgrades. I kind of love collecting these sneaky subgrades. Here's an iconic card. And take a look. It's the same thing here, except instead of 858599, we have 8585995. And sure enough, this is even higher. This is like an 8.8 if you average them together. Yet this is actually a Beckett 8.5. But it's maybe the most gorgeous 8.5 you'll ever see. I mean, we are talking perfect centering. That's always a weird thing I thought about. The centering grade got an 8.5 here. And I would just ask the question, hey, which direction would you move the centering to improve it on this card? Like, I'll wait. Which direction would you move this? Left, right, up? Really? Down? So, kind of strange. So I think that was a little bit undergraded. Now, the fact is, I know why they gave it an 8.5 centering. It's because of the back centering. And it's not because the back centering is actually bad. It's actually quite good. It's the centering of the hologram. Yeah, it's a little off. And so I'm not bothered at all by that. Sometimes the hologram doesn't even print all the way. And it's like, part of it's not even full diamond. It's, corners cut off. So I'm really pleased with this copy of this card. But the fact is, I got a Beckett 8.5 that, like I said, if any of these grades, any one of them, were like a 0.5 higher, then it would be a 9. So that's pretty cool. So again, sneaky good subgrades, particularly in cards. And here's one last example. Sneaky good subgrades, Derek Jeter. This is a Beckett 8.5. But take a look again, 8.585.995. Sneaky high subgrades, where on any given day, the grader could have made a slightly different judgment call. And instead of being a super high 8.5, which is what this is, this could be a low BGS 9. All it would take is a little half grade bump in any one of those. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to crack these out and resubmit them or anything. I'm not going to do that. But the fact is, because sneaky subgrades exist, you have a much wider span, a much wider range of the value of what a Beckett 9 could go for, or a Beckett 8.5 could go for. If it's a low 9 versus a middle quad 9, or a high 9, where we've got the 9.9, 9.5, 9.5, it's still not gem, it's still a mint 9, but it's a really high-end mint 9. And so that causes this big span, a big wide range of what a 9 can sell for. And so the fact that you've got this big wide span, again, we have a variety of comps, and the comp value, because it's wider, it's less reliable. And I think that for consumer confidence, it actually drops that confidence. And that's partially why cards like Beckett, specifically with sneaky subgrades, are just generally valued lower than something like PSA. Now, there is a third one, and this is a bit of a weird one to think about, but I think it's relevant when talking about some of these high pop wax era rookie cards, especially 80s rookies, early 90s rookies, even going into the early 2000s. Heck, why not? And let's go ahead and talk about this, and let's get some SGC love in here. We haven't seen much SGC love today, so let's go ahead and bring in Ichiro and this Greg Maddux, Donruss, the rookies. And let's talk about these. These are both SGC 9. These are mint 9 cards. Great. So I have a question to sort of introduce the idea of this third and final concept of why I believe PSA has a bit of a premium or tends to command more value than the other companies. And this third one is I just have a question for you. So mint 9 is mint 9. Great. That's what we like our cards to be mint. How many grades exist above a mint 9? Think about it. Growing up, when I was collecting cards, early 90s, late 90s, I wanted my cards to be mint condition. I really did, I want my card to be great, to be essentially flawless. Now, when PSA first came out and they had this concept of mint 9 and then gem mint, like something better than mint, to me, I was kind of like rolling my eyes, like, oh, come on, like what a gimmick, what a scam, like, come on, that's not a thing. Either a card is mint and it's like, fresh out of the pack and it's got the sharp corners and well centered, or it's or it's like near mint, or it's got something wrong with it, or it's excellent or very good or whatever it is. But seriously, how many grades exist above a mint 9? Well, for something like PSA, you only have one grade. It's either if it's not a 9, there's no 9.5, so it's a 10. That's it. So you either have effectively a perfect card would get a 10, and from there, if it's not perfect, if it's not a 10, it's going down to a 9. But for SGC or Beckett, I mean, look, SGC has the gold label 10. Beckett's got their black label 10 as the highest. And if it doesn't get that, which it probably won't because they almost never do, then there's a regular 10 as their second tier. Then you've got the 9.5, which Beckett calls gem mint still, which is the third tier down, and they're calling it gem mint, whereas SGC calls their 9.5s mint plus. And then you have the 9, which is mint 9. So whereas PSA only has one number higher than 9, Beckett and SGC both have 3 grades, 3 distinct condition tiers above a 9, mint 9. Which means that if you're looking at a card and analyzing it, if a card comes back an SGC 9, like this Ichiro did, that means that it dropped from the gold label 10 down to the regular 10, down past the 9.5, and we're now at the 4th tier down from the top. And so what does that mean? Well, it means, we'll take a look at the condition of this card. This is in an SGC 9. I know I covered the grades up, but take a look at it. If we look at the corners here, like there's definitely a touch on that corner. And it's a beautiful card, nice card. A little bit of whitening on the edge on the top, just a little. But again, just a tiny little touch of white on the corner there. And it's, it's a beautiful card, but again, a little thing on the, okay, just a tiny bit. Not really a ding, but, and then this one now, hold on a second, this one's that's inside the bag. But still, the part on the corner though, it's like every single one of these corners just has a very, very tiny touch on it. I believe, I take this exact card and pop it out and send it to PSA. I believe this is a PSA 8. Like really. Now, this isn't true for all of them. Okay, I do think that this SGC 9 would probably cross over to a PSA 9. It's a stronger card, same grade. But the fact is, because there are more tiers of grades to fall down to get to the 9, than for SGC or for Beckett than for PSA, I believe that in general, the quality of card that you're actually buying in a PSA 9 overall tends to be higher than the quality of cards that will sit for a mint 9 in an SGC holder or a Beckett holder. Maybe that's a hot take, but that is my opinion. That's the way I see it, and I'm calling it that way. Argue with me, disagree with me if you want. This is just what I've tended to notice, personally. So that's the third reason, because if it's not a 10, you're only going down one grade level, down to a 9. But if it's not a 10, you have to sink down to the 4th level to get down to this SGC or BGS, mint 9. So what do you think? Am I way off base here? Do you agree with me? Are there other reasons why PSA is commanding this premium other than the fact that A, they have the biggest market share and more transactions? Number 2, they have no sneaky subgrades and not a very big wide range of values for each grade they have. And number 3, they only have one grade that exists above a mint 9. Is there anything else I'm missing? Let me know in the comments. And thanks for watching.